Gay men of Reddit, what was your sorry ladies, I like men moment? One time I told a girl that I liked her boots. In my defense they were awesome, but she and her boyfriend thought I said boobs. Oh god no, I'm gay helped me a lot that day. I'm more on the skinny side of men, and if you looked at me long enough you'd know damn well I'm gay. Apparently though it depends on where I am that people notice this fact. While at a bar with a couple of my friends, 3 straight dudes and 1 bi guy, I was talking with a lot of the women that my straight friends were chatting with as well. Just being friendly, you know. One of them, really pretty lady, was talking to me and telling me that she liked my confidence in talking to women, which my confidence comes from wanting a conversation not a hookup, and gave me her number. Let me tell you, my conversational confidence disappeared like that and I panicked and was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm gay, I like men, ahaha. Luckily she didn't seem to fazed by that and we ended up having a lovely conversation. I was at work, at the movie theater, and I waited on this group of 3 girls, and the one's mother, the girl who apparently was interested in me, appeared to have some bad social anxiety as she was doing everything with her mother, as her mother kept reassuring her with everything that she was doing, and that everything was okay. So I finish waiting on them, then go into the lobby to go clean up the counters, stock lids, etc. Then when I'm walking back past them, the girl's friends stop me and say, my friend thinks you're really cute, and we were wondering if she could have your number, and she was sitting there with her mother, looking like she was super nervous. So this made me feel terrible, so I had to reply back with, oh I'm sorry, I'm actually kinda gay, I feel so bad, I'm sorry, I'm sure you'll find someone though, best of luck. Then I walked away, continuously feeling bad for this girl because she took a chance and I ended up not even liking girls. Oof. Back home in the US, I am coded gay, particularly my voice. However, where I live now, I am just seen as the American. I had a really nice woman strike up a conversation with me. I was really enjoying things until she touched my hand and laughed. I thought that was really weird because I typically don't like being touched, but when she laughed, I realized that she was flirting with me, not just having a conversation. So, I rolled with it, and a couple of minutes later referred to my dogs and my husband. The cold shoulder I got afterward made me wish I had kept my mouth shut. We were having a great conversation and she was lovely. Conversely, I have often found that women will be a bit standoffish of me until I mention my husband, at which point the mood completely changes, and I see a much brighter, happier, and less reserved person. This is by far the most common thing that happens. It makes me sad that both happens. I was getting drunk with my manager out in the parking lot after my last day of work. General, I'm going to miss you. It's been fun. Remember that time? Kind of stuff. She confessed she had feelings for me, but because of the company's strict rules on fraternization she kept it to herself. She then asked if I wanted to go back to her place. Now, I never talked about my sexuality. I prefer to be single, so people would probably assume from a distance and never be validated one way or the other. I wouldn't lie if someone asked, but I pass for straight, so no one ever really did. I told her what the deal was, but surprisingly this didn't change her mind. She was not a person that was used to or would tolerate rejection. This made her a great GM but not very personable. In fact, she kind of got offended and continued to come on to me regardless, right there in the front seat of her car. Again, I told her it wasn't going to happen and I didn't feel comfortable with her advances. She then tried renegotiating, asking if she could just suck my donk instead. Haven't had one. Usually ladies just ask me if I have a jolfer, pause as if coming to a realization, and continue with significant other just started a new job, and that exact sequence of syllables has happened to me at least 3 times in as many days. Apparently I'm just obvious enough that you can tell, but not until you're mid-sentence. I usually just get it out of the way. It's easier when you have a partner. I usually just talk about my dogs and how I got to name one and he got to name the other when I'm introducing myself. Clears it up pretty quickly without beating people over the head. I don't like the weird multiple coming out process that can happen if I don't find a way to put it out there. I'm also decently androgynous in many ways, so people usually can read me and then end up tripping over themselves trying to ask about my so or spouse so they don't come off as rude. Better to just avoid the little bit of awkwardness. I'm B and probably the straightest acting white dude you've ever met. I recently started dating a girl last month and have told a few people at work about it. Their reactions are always a mix of disbelief and awkward attempts to say they are okay with LGBT+ people. I enjoy it. I was at a bar with my friends. Standard. Rather tipsy girl comes over and starts trying to grind on me. It's inappropriate anyway, but I have to turn to her to push her away because I was rather uncomfortable. She looks a little offended, so I ask her the classic "Are you into guys?" She says yes and I say me too. Mistake. She immediately changes tack and starts with the gay best friend thing. Rude. Then proceeded to fall backwards over a brass tool. I escaped and went back to talking about Formula 1 with my friends while she found a dude to make out with. I was out at a bar catching up with my siblings and a few friends when one chick started hitting on me. Typical of me, I just thought she was being friendly. My sister leaned over and said, "You're barking up the wrong tree there. He likes dudes." Poor girl looked so embarrassed. She didn't end the night empty-handed. My brother took her home instead. In the school hallway I was yelled at by some girl because they thought I was looking at her friend's ass. I was literally wearing a pink shirt with rainbow stripes and an earring. It would literally take 2 seconds looking at me to know that I'm gay. I just laughed and said nah, I'm homo, and walked away. I was at a music festival and one of my favorite artists came out and played a great set. It's absolutely packed and I'm dancing my ass off in a huge crowd of people having a great time. I guess the girl standing in front of me thought I was dancing up against her to try and make a move. She turns around and tells me she has a boyfriend. Literally told her that's great. I'm gay so that's not really any concern of mine. But I really dig your 80s top, so you do you. I was in the elevator of a resort going to my room, as I just arrived in town and needed to get ready for a trade show. In comes 3 drunk chicks from the pool. One goes, "I like men with beards," trying to flirt. When I replied, "So do I," she went from trying to boing to trying to be my fruit fly. I sat in the back corner of health class when I was a junior, though at my new school it was a freshman class. I immediately had 5 girls surround me. It was clear a couple of them had a crush. I moved a lot so it was normal for people not to know me and normal for me to keep to myself. Granted, I'm not a small guy, but I was still nervous about being out. One day they spent a good 20 minutes literally giving me a sales pitch on which one of them was hotter and wouldn't stop bugging me for an answer. At some point one of the louder ones asked out of nowhere, "Are you gay?" I said without even thinking, "Yes." "So stop asking," she screamed. No joke, "You're actually gay," loud enough for people in the hall to stop and look in. It was almost worse because now these 5 girls immediately clung onto their first gay friend. Could have been worse. I had to fight at a couple past schools. Now though, I had a fairly impenetrable girl shield so nobody had a thing to say. First time I came out publicly too. One time I was getting KFC with a friend and I think the girl at the counter must have misread my politeness. Once I'd gone to sit down with my friend, she came past and was like, "Here," and put a piece of paper on the table pretty abruptly before walking off. Basically it was a short message and her number. I'm pretty obviously not straight in the way I present myself, so this sort of thing doesn't normally happen to me and I wasn't sure what to do. In the end I spent like an hour trying to find out the best way to say, "Hey, you seem nice and good on you for being so ballsy, but also I'm gay." I also made the mistake of posting about it on Facebook because it was pretty funny, especially if you know me. But someone saw it who knew both of us and put 2 and 2 together. So basically I freaked up a bit there. She was real nice about it all and she thought it was funny too, so it was chill. I was very out of my depth though. I'm a white guy who tends to get read as gay in white communities because I'm short, generally well dressed, and have a higher pitched voice. I work with Latina communities a lot in my job, though, and for them, I often get read as masculine straight because I have facial hair. Different cultural benchmarks, I guess. No big deal emo. One time, though, I had 2 women in the community open up that they got in a big fight over me. One was mad that the other was spending more time with me. I just sat there dumbstruck and scared about outing myself because I didn't want to stop working with them. I just had to casually mention my novio, not novia, and they figured it out. I think they just felt silly. I still work with them. Great ladies. One of them is going to cook me mole soon. I'm stoked. I'm a straight man with a bit of a role reversal to this question. 20 plus years ago in college, I had a hyper-religious roommate. Let's call him Mark. He was gay as could be. I knew it. My other roommate, John, knew it. Pretty much everyone knew it except Mark and his girlfriend. One night, they had been in an argument. A nasty one. So bad, in fact, they got me and the other roomie involved like we were supposed to be judges or something. She asked us why he never tried to make a move on her. We tried to stay out of it, and Mark kept saying for purity's sake. Finally, John and I looked at each other, sighed, and John said, "Mark, it's probably because you like men." The room was silent. Mark looked like someone had just punched him. Then, after a long pause, he quietly asked, "How did you know his girlfriend started shouting at him about lying to her and being made a fool?" That gave me and John a chance to escape. I never saw her again, but the next day we all had a good chat with Mark about who he was and what he'd been hiding. Even though we were cool with everything, Mark was so embarrassed by the situation that he ended up moving out about 2 weeks later. While he didn't come out to society at large at that time, he came out to his family. But most importantly, he finally admitted to himself who he was. First time this happened was in high school. She and I were in journalism together. As part of the class we had to share our phone numbers. It was so that if we needed someone to cover an event, we could always find someone. Anyway, she calls one day. She wants to get more into photography. I was the photo editor, so not too unusual. I take her with me to a few events I was working, and she was always thankful at the end. Looking back, it should have struck me that her form of affection was getting more intimate. At first it was a hug, then it was calling or texting just to talk, then it was talk about how we make a great team, and lastly she tried to stay bolted to my side during the day. Now I was still oblivious that this is flirting. I took it as her being just a touchy-feely kind of person. One day after working a game, she asks me outright why I haven't asked her out. I shot back, "Why would I do that?" She goes off about how she's been trying for weeks to drop hints that she's into me, that I was flirting back, and if I thought she was ugly. She started tearing up about how she thought I liked her and must have only been keeping her going to be cruel. Mind you, at this point, I haven't said a word. After a few moments of silence, I said, "I'm gay." She called bullshit. I didn't look, sound or act gay. At that point, I could have walked away but I didn't. It took a while to get her to accept that fact, but she came around, especially after she saw me hugging a guy during passing period. The context of that hug is a story for a different day. She and I have actually stayed friends over the years, even went to college together. She's been my watchdog over the entire time, letting me know when women are being flirting. I still can't tell when anyone, regardless of gender, is flirting. As a side note, this has happened a number of times over the years. It makes me kind of sad, because I can't give them what they want. It takes a lot to talk to someone you like, and when you get along with them it only raises the hope it can be something more. Being attracted to enough straight guys to know this feeling, I've taken to the policy of feeling out a person's view toward LGBT matters, and if safe, making it clear I'm gay. All the time, unfortunately. Well, actually, rarely do I even notice that a lady is flirting with me. It usually has to be pointed out to me after the fact. But dozens of times ladies have tried to flirt with me, and those times that I either do pick it up, or someone else points it out to me, I have to gently let them know that my boat does not sail in that direction and I am not accepting ladies as passengers. Then it makes me mad. I get ladies to flirt with me, but never the men. I don't think that's fair. I could in theory get what I don't want, but I can't get what I A girl had approached me during college because I speaking English with a friend and she wanted us to be friends so she could practice her English with somebody. English is neither our first or second language where I'm from, and I found out later on that she was actually following me for 2 months prior. A month goes by, she asks me if I'm interested in someone. I take the hint that she's interested in me, so I come out to her the next day. She was the first person I ever came out to, and we remain as friends the following months. She was asking me out all the time, going to movies, taking a walk on the beach. She starts locking arms with me, etc. Things that are usually done by couples, but I paid no mind because I already came out to her, so she must just be excited to do things with her new gay BFF. 3 or 4 months after the start of our friendship, she proposes to me and tells me she wants to have my babies while we're crossing a street. It was so weird. I told her again that I was gay, so that wasn't possible. She told me she loved me and wouldn't mind if we just became best friends who are married, which made no sense to me and just made it clear that she wasn't viewing us as just friends this whole time, so I ended the friendship right there. The next 2 months she started following me everywhere, going to my classes, riding the same bus as me even if we don't live close by. And she started creating fake accounts to add me on social media as I blocked her main ones. One day she lied to one of my friends, told him we were in a relationship and I was ghosting her, so she wanted him to take her to my place. He believed her and brought her to where I live, and she made a scene. She pretended to pass out and wouldn't leave until I talked to her. I agreed and we went to a garden far from home because that was embarrassing as shoot. I explained to her for the 3rd time how me being gay means she has 0 chance to be in a relationship with me and told her she was making me uncomfortable. She seemed to get it and went home afterwards. I was relieved that it was finally over. Except, a few days later she was knocking on my front door. I opened it. She handed me a letter and told me to read it. She left. I closed the door and burned the letter without reading it. Till this day I still don't know what was in that letter. Was it a goodbye or was it a last try to get with me? Anyways, that's the story of how the first person I come out to started stalking me. I've had 2 friends falling for me before knowing I was gay. One in particular was pretty interesting. First year of undergrad, I wasn't completely out of the closet yet. Only parents and close friends knowing of it. I move into this big shared house, and this girl very quickly becomes my friend. Pretty fast we start doing a lot of things together and being really friendly. For example, hugging a lot. She had a boyfriend who was adjacent to our friend group and hanged out with us pretty often. With this situation established, I formed this impression of boyfriend, of someone who's very sarcastic and funny, but a little weird. I felt like he always had a spiky quip for anything I said, but in a joke way. He's off somehow, but I'm not sure how, and I don't think too much about it. He's just one of my acquaintances. A few months later, those two start to have frequent fights. They would be super close one day, and then I'd find her crying on the doorsteps the next one. That sucks, but it happens. I thought I'd become even closer to her, giving her emotional support. Then closer to the end of the year, me and my friends decide to rent a house to live together. The boyfriend is part of this group. We go see houses, talk room sharing. We're broke college students, after all, and every time I mention it would make sense if I shared a room with him, I'm ignored. Once again, I don't think too much about it. Then it all clicks together this one day where me and my friends are shooting shoot and I get in a heated exchange with one friend, not boyfriend, over the way he had been handling his own relationship. He gets mad and yells back, "If you're so magnanimous, then why the hell are you stringing girl along even though you know you don't want anything with her?" I'm extremely confused. I have no idea what he's talking about. How am I stringing her along? Then they finally explain everything. Girl is into me. Everybody thinks. Boyfriend picked up on that, and has for the entire year thought that I was reciprocating it. He hates me. That's why they fight so much. My friends hadn't told me because they thought I knew what I was doing for some goddamn reason, which of course I didn't. I'm gay. I didn't understand the politics of straight relationships, especially when we were all 18. I thought we clearly were just friends. Nobody else did. I immediately tell my friends to let them know I'm gay. They do, and immediately she becomes more distant. Next week, boyfriend randomly stops by and hangs out with me. In one of the weirdest afternoons of my life. After half an hour we don't have anything left to talk about and still he won't leave. That went for 4 hours. Only later I realized he was there just to somehow, without asking directly, confirm that I really was gay. That was one of the last times I ever talked to him. They broke up for good soon after, and I only talk to girl once every few years now. TLDR. I become friends with a girl. She falls for me and everybody knows it but me. Everybody thinks I'm doing it on purpose, including her boyfriend, who hates me. This situation goes on for an entire year. Back in elementary school, when I wasn't around, other kids would ask my best friend whom I hung out with if we were a thing. I wouldn't be surprised if people kept thinking that through middle and high school. This was before I knew I was gay, or even knew what being gay was. There was also this time with my other female best friend when we were about to play D&D semi-recently. The DM genuinely couldn't tell if we were in a relationship, siblings, or otherwise. Just a simple not into that gender fix that misunderstanding. Haven't really had many, only one way. My mum's hairdresser. I was picking my mum up then going out for lunch and her hairdresser is only a few years older than me so we all get along pretty well. She pretty obviously starts hitting on me and I had to politely inform her I was in a long-term committed relationship with another guy. She was a bit taken aback by it as I don't always seem outly gay. Okay, so I was the lady. I had just moved to London, had no friends, and was super lonely. MySpace was the thing back then, so I thought to make friends on there. Girls never wrote me back. Men were creeps, so I thought gay dude. Safe territory. I messaged a dude I found who lived in the city and had a lot of the same interests and the same birthday. I sent him a lovely message, and within 5 minutes he simply replied back yeah, I'm gay. I replied back yes, quite aware, and that's the point. A day later we are getting wasted at Gay bar in Soho. 2 years later I'm on the brink of deportation. And a month later the bastards married me to keep me in the country. He's my hubby and best friend to this day. So in a weird way, all worked out exactly the opposite of how you'd imagine. I worked with this girl and we became good friends on a trip to Mexico for work. She was very cute with a very energetic personality. She asked me to go grab a coffee at lunch and you could tell she was a bit nervous. Then she asked if I would like to go on a date. I was a bit taken aback because during our work trip I was grinding between 2 other guys, not part of work, and she was there too. She said I just thought I was a really fun open person. I giggled. This girl at the train station was a freeloader and thought I am her next male catch. I went to the vending machine to buy myself a beverage and she looks at me and start flirting in such a desperate way. After I finished with the machine she asked me straight up, no please, to buy her food. I said no. She kept flirting and never understood that I'm gay and that no beverage is coming her way for free from me. I was video calling my husband from my car in a parking lot outside the store, and there was a lady milling around who looked a bit dressed up but didn't seem to be wearing pants, or a skirt, or anything in that equip slot. I kept glancing over at her, trying to figure out why there's a pantsless lady wandering around, and then she started walking straight toward my car. Most people who've approached me in my parked car have been panhandlers. And I wasn't in the mood to get asked for money or really talk to strangers at all, so I drove away. In retrospect, I'm pretty sure I almost was approached by a sex worker who thought I was interested because I was looking at her in the middle of a phone call with my husband. Ugh. I was a senior in high school. There was this girl who I knew, let's call her Sally, and she was the blandest person I ever met. Granted, she was nice and kind, but my god, devoid of any semblance of a personality. So I was nice to her, but not really interested in striking up a friendship. She'd sit next to me at lunch, which was fine, but it was always awkward. Note that at this point in high school, I am fully out of the closet. It's absolutely no secret that I'm gay. Everyone knows, or so I assume. One day she comes and sits down next to me. She very conspicuously rests her hand in the middle of the table. Written on top of her hand in black Sharpie is I love. My first and last name. Jesus butthole Christ. What am I supposed to say here? What's that you got on your hand there? Sally. She quickly pulls back and covers her hand in feigned coyness and giggles, not answering my question. So, you know I'm gay though, right? She just giggles awkwardly and sits there. I turn my conversation back to my friends across the table, feeling incredibly awkward myself and unsure of what to do. My friends are equally confused, but go along with ignoring the situation. Sally leaves a few minutes later, and I breathe an incomplete sigh of relief. We didn't talk much after that. It was for the best. I was a new night nurse and there was a nurse I worked with on the same unit. We would go on smoke breaks together and she would botch about her love life and I would sit quietly and listen. This went on for a good 6 months and we became really good friends. I had never told her I was gay. It never really came up. Well, one night after smoking we get in the elevator. I hit the 3rd floor button and turn around. She gets this weird look in her eye and pushes me against the wall of the elevator and kisses me so hard she busts my lip. I push her away and say, "What, are you nuts? Honey, I'm gay." Granted, she had braces, so that's where the busted lip comes in. Cut to our charge nurse standing there when the elevator doors open to me holding my bloody lip and her crying and running out. Needless to say, everyone knew I was gay after that at work. A girl in a nightclub kept coming up to me and playing with my hair, saying how much she loved blonde boys. I thought she was just overfly friendly and drunk, but she insisted on me going home with her. She bought me 3 VKs and gave me like 5 cigarettes, and I honestly thought she was just being one of those drunk friends you meet on a night out. Skip forward a few hours. I meet this boy in the club, get really flirty together. We sit down in the smoking area and she comes up to me being like, "Why are you hanging with a gay boy?" Not in a homophobic way, she was kinda joking. He gave this really confused look, and she just grabs my donk and says, "Come on, let's go home." Me feeling really awkward at this point, I just stand up and walk away. The same boy finds me 15 minutes later and we start kissing. Out of the corner of my eye I see the girl staring at me. She walks over and throws her entire pint over my 160-pound shirt, completely destroying it. My other friend, also a girl, kicks her away, but this girl keeps coming back, literally sobbing and screaming at me, begging me to have sex with her. This boy I was with grabs his full vodka cranberry and pours it into her hair. This girl wails, lies on the floor of this club and breaks down. I was in such confusion. I don't think I've had anyone show more interest in me ever, but she was absolutely broken about the fact I liked boys. Anyway, went home with that boy and we laughed it all out. Still sad I lost my shirt though. I was in Sydney for New Year's. I'm American, with my husband, visiting a friend and his boyfriend, who were military and got prime seats to watch fireworks on an army base by the bridge. We are all fairly good looking and fit muscular guys. Not super macho but not really feminine either. The girls next to us were kind of drunk and fun and we were hanging out, drinking, chatting, whatever. Over the course of an hour or two it became clear to me they were hitting on us. I just kind of ignored it. No big deal. Then it got more brazen and overt and eventually uncomfortable. So I said, "You know we're gay, right?" Cue a half hour of arguing over how that could possibly be true, with them concluding I was lying because I wasn't into them. It was so bizarre, like they couldn't get their heads around the fact that a group of nice, normal guys could possibly be gay. Then they got kind of hostile and they basically ignored us until we left. It was a very quick hot cold moment. I inferred that Australians aren't quite as down with the gay TM as you average Texan, where I was living at the time with no issues whatsoever. I may be a girl, but this still counts. A long time ago, a boy asked me out. I said no, I like other people, and he assumed I had a boyfriend. I just went with it. He then realized I was single and accused me of lying. It's been years since then and he asked out another gay girl while I was in the same room with her. We didn't know each other that day, we just happened to be there. He asked her out over text, and she straight up said she was gay. He got all defensive saying how would you feel if you asked out your crush and he said he was gay. Bad, right? So don't do that to me. And kept going on and then somehow ended up on something about suing her for copyright laws. IDK. I told her my story. A couple years ago he out of nowhere started sending me threats. Hasn't been resolved. He's too stubborn to accept he's wrong and still haven't been left alone by him and his friends. Too many people know me for lies he came up with to try and get me to leave the face of the earth. I'm still here and strong. I deliver pizza, and I was doing a run to one of the Motel 6s in my delivery zone. It was a lot of food, something like 3 pizzas, some wings, and a 2-liter. I get to the door, check the room number, and knock. This woman, maybe about 20-24 with blue hair, answered. When I told her the price, she said that the guy who ordered it wasn't there anymore, and that she didn't have money to pay for it. Weird, but that sort of thing does happen. She then says maybe I could make it up to you later. I, being in work mode, assumed she meant that she would order another pizza and tip me on that. When I told her that she could specifically request that I deliver it if she called instead of using the app, she said, "Oh, I mean that I think you're pretty cute and I was thinking about showing you a good time," to which I promptly say, although knowing me, I probably yelled, "I'm gay and I love my boyfriend." Then I walked back to the car. I'm a lesbian, but I've had one of these moments that was so f***ing memorable. So, I was in year 6. I was 11 years old. I knew my sexuality from a really young age, and my whole year was finishing watching Oliver Twist for our history writing, and my best guy friend tries to tell me something. It went like this. Guy friend, satanic mumbling sound. Me, what guy friend? I kinda like you. Me, I like you too. You're the best friend ever. Yes, I was trying to friend zone him. Him, no, I like you. Me, watch the movie. Him, no, just tell me if you feel the same. Me, physically stands up for some odd reason. I lesbian. Timothy. It was so embarrassing but so worth it to see the look on his and my classmates' faces. It's not as good as some of the others here. I just thought I would share it anyway. P.S. Sorry for shouting at you, Timmy. I'm a decently muscular short B man. But one time when I was single, I was out bar hopping with my best friend Steph and a couple of her friends, bouncing between gay bars and regular bars. I wasn't really drinking that much. I had just been through a bad breakup, and I honestly just wanted to dance my ass off. Towards around midnight, we got to a nightclub and there is this cute brunette at the bar and this bigger muscle hair dude is borderline harassing her and she seems super uncomfortable. I walk right up in between the two of them and say, "Is he bothering you, babe?" Pretending like I am her boyfriend so that he will leave her alone. It worked and he walked away. I get up to leave, because my only intention was to get that d-bag dude to leave her alone. She asks me if I want something to drink. I politely declined, but said that I would like to dance. Turns out she's from out of town and lives in a small town and is in town for a wedding. We end up dancing for hours through a series of clubs and bars, just having a grand time. 3 AM. Her phone is dead. She is too drunk to remember what hotel her friends are at. I have only had one drink since 10 PM. I tell her she can crash on my couch and use my charger and I'll get to wherever her friends are in the morning. We get back to my place and my roommate already has a buddy that is crashing on the couch, so I tell her she can sleep in my bed and I'll sleep on the floor. I let her change into a pair of my shorts and one of my flannels and then she asks me, "Do you have a condom?" I ask her what she needs a condom for because I never had any sexual intentions with her. She was surprised that I had some all that and danced with her for 5 hours and didn't want to freak. Then I told her I was more into men than women. She and I still talk to this day. I had a best friend I met in my technical fashion studies. We were hanging out a lot, and at some point I felt like I might try to get into something more serious with her, even though I already had like dozens of gay porn videos on my PC. But you never know. Her parents enjoyed me quite a lot too, and our relationship was quite platonic, so they were not too defensive in that sense. At some point we had a long distance relationship because I moved 700 kilometers away to another city to pursue another degree, while she tried to earn some experience through internships, but we still stayed in touch. When I landed a job, through circumstances, we were seeing each other less and less, and at some point I deadass asked her if I could experiment with men on the side. At this point I was still a virgin. She wasn't a big fan of the fact but still agreed. Then I went on a monstrous freak fest for several months until I stumbled upon a very cute guy who was looking for a relationship unlike all the cum-hungry bottoms before him. And yes, I started to date him too. At some point my then GF became distant and asked me to have a serious talk face to face. She was obviously prepared for the worst reaction she could expect when she announced she didn't think it would work out, and that she wasn't really ready for a relationship. My reaction? Well, you know, I actually think it's better that way for both of us. Because frankly I prefer dudes, but I value our friendship. Which was quite the main reason I tried to get in a relationship with you. To not fall out through time. She was like, ooh, okay. So we're still cool. It was funny, but I still have to wear the burden of not telling her I was dating that other guy while still with her. Gay cop here. A common misconception is that male cops can't pat down females. Typically this involves a tasteful back of the hand feel along the pockets and waistline for contraband, and typically only during arrests. Inevitably it's always the grossest, most belligerent, sweaty trash pile that demands a female officer or accuses me of impropriety when it occurs. My common retort with a wink to my coworkers is, I'm sorry, there is not a female on scene. But don't worry, I'm the closest you'll get. If they question why, I usually respond that I used to be a doctor but quit because I had to touch too many gross people. But please note, straight men of Reddit, many times I had women clearly become interested in me and at bars because I was friendly, engaged in normal conversation, and listened, commented or joked back based on what they said without being flirty. Drop the game, you'll get laid much more often. Back when I was in my awkward closeted self-denial stage in middle school, two girls I had close friendships with confessed their feelings for me just a few days apart. For a few days my closeted brain just crashed like an old Windows OS. Then I got my S together and turned them down as nicely as possible. Really glad that it didn't affect our friendship. When I came out years later we all had a good laugh about them figuring out that I was actually gay even before I overcame my self-denial. They had a lot of fun pointing out how I'm generally oblivious to people flirting with me and that I underestimate my own attractiveness by quite a bit. Some of the best friends I've ever had. In college, two girls fell in love with me when I was 18 and 23 and started to send me lots of dramatic text messages, and when I was 15 I knew a girl that used to flirt with me a lot and I had to tell her I was gay. She ended up being one of my best friends. No man has ever fallen in love with me and I find that pretty sad. When I was a grad student, I was a teaching assistant in the same department where my father was a professor. I was out of the closet but not obviously gay. Apparently one of my female students had a crush on me. She never spoke to me, but she went to my father and asked, would you mind having brown grandchildren? Student was black. I'm white. He was a bit confused until he figured out what she was implying, but then he said something like, we wouldn't mind at all, but there would be another obstacle to that. I used to be pretty open saying that I was bi, and didn't mind the occasional flirt from ladies or lads. But recently, after my experiences where some ladies really wanted to make uncomfortable advances on me, or they were just too much with drama and the over-the-top botching, of course I'm not saying that's everyone, it's just the ones I have happened to have experience with, I realize that guys are more for me. I don't think I ever had a thought that in the long run of things, I'd find a wife, I'd mess around and have fun, but never thought I'd have a family where I'd be married to a lady. It's either going solo or with a husband. Guess that was my moment for me. In high school I had 3 girls fight over me. They were on the student council and so was I. Had no clue. At the time I had no interest in either sex and only really realized relationships made any sense at all about halfway through the year. Until then the very concept felt stupid. They finally decided to confront me and make me choose one of them over the others, because I must have liked one of them, right? Eye roll. They walked in on me kissing the only other guy on the student council and just sort of all had this I wanna die expression on. I turned out bisexual, but at that point they just marked me as gay and never bothered me for attention again, which was nice. I changed schools later that year. Finally some good questioning. Okay, here we go. So each Saturday I head out to club with my buddies and everything we do we of course get tipsy before we do so. So you have me when I'm tipsy, I'm the dude that's dancing frantically in the background like basically an idiot. So everyone I do I of course catch the eyes of many in my opinion. Gorgeous women. But you see the problem is I am very gay. So every Saturday night there's some girl asking me out. And every damn time I have to tell her, sorry, but I'm gay, which only makes it 10 times funnier because almost all my friends I go out with aren't gay. So they're standing there trying to hit on some girl, yet I'm here attracting them like a bloody magnet. They hate me for it, and I laugh about it. My friend had his friend who was a girl there, and my boyfriend and we were wrapping up after work all together. She jokingly grabbed my boyfriend's butt. I said hands off. That's my botch. She then said he was my botch before she had no idea we were in a relationship together. Me being the flannel wearing cowboy kinda guy I am, I didn't give off that vibe. She then said alright, kiss him, so I turned him around and kissed him. Her face is certainly memorable. Then my friend finally decided to say, you know, they've been together for 6 months. It was honest to God hilarious as hell. At my former place of employment, I became good work friends with the administrative assistant for the department I worked in. I never socialized with her outside of work. She was also married to someone else in the company. I thought that being friends with her was safe. It was not. She was complimenting me about how nice I was and how thoughtful I was. Yada yada yada. She transferred to another department and I only talked to her every once in a while. Several months later, she sent me an email about her sister, complete with a picture, and how she thought we would be a match. Aside from the fact that I was out on the road 18 days a month and her sister lived in a city 250 miles east of where I lived at the time, not to mention the fact that I'm a gay male in my late 20s at the time, there was no way this was happening. I politely declined without revealing that me dating someone had a baseline of the fact that both of us must be equipped with a donk. She never talked to me again.